gotta get the hell out of bed. We're going to vote because we don't want to take any chances. And we need big margins because we have to send real unity as a message. Because, with real unity, they won't be able to cheat. It won't matter. The radical left Democrats are supporting Nikki Haley for one reason, because they know she's very easy to beat. She's going to be very easy to beat. She's them. That's why I'm so proud to be joined today by an incredible group of leaders from Nikki's home state of South Carolina, where we'll be in about 3 weeks. And I saw a poll, Henry, the governor, what a great governor. I saw a poll, and by the way, he actually really did keep his state open. He's one of the few, he really did, because I said to the governors, you have to do what you want to do. That's one of the few people, and there were a few, they were all Republicans, but he really kept his state open. But they understand that I am the only candidate in this race who's going to save America, and we're going to get rid of this Biden disaster right away. So, it is my honor to call on stage from South Carolina, Governor Henry McMaster, one of the best governors in the country. Come on up, Henry. We'll be there in 3 weeks. So we're going to be there in 3 weeks, so you know what I'm doing? I'm kissing ass. I'm kissing. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans is fantastic.
Pessoal, eu não tenho como compartilhar aqui. Quem, por favor, puder compartilhar, eu agradeço aí, tá? Discurso de Donald Trump aqui em New Hampshire, ao vivo, estamos aqui, tá? Quem puder, por favor, compartilha.
House Speaker Merle Smith. Love that name. South Carolina Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Thank you very much.
Acho que é o único influencer brasileiro cobrindo diretamente aqui a campanha das prévias do Partido Republicano aqui nos Estados Unidos.
Do you remember? You're lying, he said. You're lying. Because that's a believer.
Nádia, um abraço para todos aí na Alemanha.
Popular, actually. It caused a little turmoil, but it made him very popular. He's great. Congressman William Timmons, thank you. And a friend of mine, an incredible political figure. He's really taken politics by storm, Congressman Russell Fry. Hey Russell, I'm going to ask
Quem
you
estiver
if you
torcendo aí pela vitória do Trump, deixa aí nos comentários, tá, pessoal?
A couple of others, and we're going to get this done real quick, but we have to be really good to South Carolina because we have to win big. We're only up in the last poll by 60 points. 600. That's pretty good. She was the governor, and we're up by 60. So Russell, why don't you start? Go ahead.
Quem puder, por favor, compartilha aí, pessoal. Bota nos grupos aí pro pessoal ver o discurso do Trump aqui.
New Hampshire, how we doing?
Como é que tá a campanha do Trump? Vocês querem saber? Olha aí, ó. Olha a campanha do Trump aí, ao vivo.
Joe Biden heard that from his basement in Delaware, I think. That was so loud. It is an honor to be here in New Hampshire. I got to tell you, the first time I stood on stage with President Trump was 2 years ago in South Carolina. It was 20 degrees. That was pretty cold. Not like New Hampshire cold, but cold. And what was amazing to me is we stood there and thousands of people, much like today, came out to support Donald Trump again for President of the United States. Are y'all ready for Donald Trump? So my name is Russell Fry, Congressman from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Who's ever been to Myrtle Beach? Who wants to go to Myrtle Beach right now? All right. So I came all the way to New Hampshire because I have one question, actually two. Is this Nikki Haley country? Or is this Donald Trump country? That right there is the power of the America First movement, and there are so many.
Essa eleição aqui é muito importante para o mundo inteiro, na verdade.
In our home state, it's a little bit warmer right now, but we chose to come up to New Hampshire for a reason. There's a reason why President Trump in South Carolina, in the Governor Haley's former state, well, she has 14 endorsements compared to Donald Trump's 100. So, do we want somebody who's controlled by the big donors and the Wall Street special interests? Or do we
Para quem
want
queria
someone
saber como é que tá a campanha do
every
Trump, tá?
single day for hardworking Americans? Do we want somebody who flip-flops on every position? Or do we want somebody like Donald Trump who keeps his word? And this is interesting because we lived it in South Carolina, but do we want somebody who caves to the Chinese Communist Party, gives them land and calls them a friend? Or do we want somebody like Donald Trump who they fear? And lastly, do we want somebody who's soft on immigration? Or do we want somebody who can secure the border, build the wall, and bring back our rule of law? Well, Mr. President, I think the choice is pretty clear with this crowd. They want Donald Trump back in the White House. So you got a task ahead of you. Tuesday's a big day. And like the president just said, if somebody's sick, if
Tem uma função aqui no YouTube que faz a tradução aí, você vai nas configurações e bota a legenda, tá? Aí vai aparecer a legenda do vídeo automático, tá? Tem a opção aí, tá, pessoal? É o estado de New Hampshire aqui nos Estados Unidos. Comício do Trump ao vivo.
We need a leader who can turn this country around. President Trump has done it once, and I know that he can do it again. So on Tuesday, let's take that next step. The next step to retire the mumbling, bumbling, mentally deluded occupant of the White House out and put this man back in as the 47th President of the United States.
Are we coming out for Trump on Tuesday or what? Are we going to take 10, 15 people to the voting booths with us? Are we going to do that? We need to do that because we have an open border. I'm here today not just because I'm Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina, because I have believed in President Trump since 2015. President Trump made our country safer and everybody prospered. Now our borders are open. We need to bring him back. Do we need to bring him back? Bring him back. If we want our borders closed, we need to do what? Bring him back. If we want to become energy independent again, what are we going to do? If we want to make sure that we take care of our veterans, our seniors, and our law enforcement, what are we going to do? You know, everybody likes to talk about Donald Trump's policies and they want to take credit for them. But when this man was born, God broke the mold. And you cannot have President Trump policies without President Trump. Thank you so much, New Hampshire. Let's close this on Tuesday.
Hello, New Hampshire. I love your motto, live free or die. Do we feel like we've been living free for the last 4 years? Well, there's a way we can fix that, and that is to elect Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. My name is Merle Smith. I'm the Speaker of the South Carolina House. I served with Nikki Haley in the General Assembly. I held a fundraiser for her when she ran for governor at my home. But I can tell you right now, I, as well as a majority of my colleagues in the leadership of the South Carolina House of Representatives and members, are supporting Donald Trump. And let me tell you why. Because this man created one of the most robust economies in our lifetime 4 years ago. He is someone that does not need on-the-job training. He is someone that knows how to make this.
Pessoal, tô que nem vocês aqui, tá? Tô levando as imagens aqui, mas minha situação é a mesma de vocês aí, tá, pessoal? Mas não podia deixar de mostrar para vocês, né, o que está acontecendo aqui.
Because Tuesday, you can come out and vote and have Donald Trump win this primary overwhelming and send a message to the Republican Party in this state. And I tell you this, if you do that and you win by a big margin here, we'll finish the job in South Carolina. So thank you. God bless you. Vote Donald Trump.
All right, y'all. I'm the last one of us that's going to speak. I'll be very brief. Y'all know what the plural of y'all is? All y'all. Well, I want to tell all y'all why we all are here. I don't know if you noticed, but all the statewide elected officials in South Carolina, we call them constitutional officers, are for Trump. Except one, she's a rookie and she'll figure it out before long. Our 2 U.S. senators and the vast majority of the people of South Carolina want Donald Trump. So,
depois eu vou fazer aqui tô com o amigo Roberto Jorge aqui, e depois ele vai fazer um resumo pra gente aqui do que foi discussado aqui pelas pessoas que estão com o Trump ali.
Tell us what you want, what you really, really want. Well, that's what we're here to do, to tell you what we in South Carolina want, what we really, really want. And there it is, right there. All right, I got four short reasons. We want Donald Trump. Why? To protect our borders, return the illegals, and build the wall. That's reason number one. Reason number two, get the woke out of our military and put the fight back in. Reason number 3 or 4, put common sense conservative judges in the courts to restore the rule of law and the Constitution. And finally, to tell our enemies abroad that America is standing back up and it's time for them to sit back down. New Hampshire is for Trump, South Carolina is too. We'll see you at the finish line.
As eleições são em novembro, né? De aposto. Brasil.
Well, thank you very much, South Carolina Governor. Thank you very much. Very popular group of people. You've done a fantastic job. And again, we're going to be there in 3 weeks. That's why I did that. Don't tell them, but that's why I did that.
Bolsonaro,
Brasil. Big, very political
Brasil,
state. We
Bolsonaro.
have a lot to say about things. And
Bolsonaro,
we love them.
president,
And we have
Brasil.
almost everybody
Trump,
supporting us there,
Bolsonaro, friends.
which is quite a tribute when you have somebody running who is the governor. To the people of New Hampshire, all you need to know about Nikki Haley is that every globalist, liberal, Biden supporter, and never Trumper is on her side. And virtually every single leader, that's not too many people, by the way, in our home state of South Carolina is on our side. We have almost everybody. And I can say that for Texas. I can say that for Michigan. We just had a great poll today from Michigan. We're up 11 points. So hard. The auto workers. They don't want to see cars being built in China. It's very simple. In Texas, we're up by 18 points. Can you believe this? I don't mean on her. I mean on Biden I'm talking about. Same thing with Michigan. No, we're up almost everywhere, all over the country. We're way up on Biden. And we're going to keep it that way because I actually think it's going to get worse. I think we've never had more danger in our country than we have right now. We have a serious danger of going into a World War III, and we think the election's going to be close. It's 10 months, a little more than 10 months. That's a long time. These guys can screw things up very, very rapidly. And you see it starting already. You see it starting, this conflict all over the world. Remember, Israel would have never happened. Ukraine would have never happened. You wouldn't have had inflation. China wouldn't be talking about Taiwan. But here are just a few of the toxic positions that make Nikki and Ron DeSantis.
As eleições estão no final do ano, o que está acontecendo agora são as prévias nos estados, né?
Haley said she
Para
wants to
escolher o
raise the
candidato
Social
dos
Security
republicanos.
retirement age to match life expectancy, which means that she wants it to go up to about 77. Is everybody happy with that? It's not going to happen with us. 10 years before you collect 1 penny of benefits you've worked your entire life. Can't do that to people. DeSantis voted 3 times to raise the retirement age very substantially on Social Security. He voted when he was a congressman, when he was at about 3 until I endorsed him. And then he won because I endorsed him. And then he said, yeah, I'll run against him. Why not? 4 years later, I said, that's nice. So we hit him hard. They said, don't hit him so hard, sir. He's a Republican. I said, I don't give a damn. Nikki also supported Rhino Paul Ryan's 2011 plan to destroy Medicare, the same plan that led to Democrat ads, the most vicious ads, showing Republicans wheeling Granny off the cliff. Do you remember that one? That was not good politics. They lost that election by a lot. Incredibly, Nikki is defending her planned cuts for Social Security, and she's out there really defending. No, we want to cut, we want to cut. You can't do it. We have a really wealthy nation. We have more liquid gold under our feet. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to make so much money. We don't have to play things like they're talking. Like DeSantis, Nikki Haley supports a 23% national sales tax. Think about that. This is death. This is death for a candidate. The world doesn't know that. I thought I'd let you know before the election. Perhaps worst of all, Nikki Haley is backed by the deep state and the military-industrial complex because they know she is a globalist, and really a globalist fool who they can easily manipulate into sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. Think of this. We have sent over $200 billion to Ukraine, and Europe, our European friends, when you combine them, it's about the same size the economy as the United States. They've spent barely $20 billion, so we're at $200 billion. I think they should make up the difference. Don't you think they should at least equalize? I did that with NATO. We were paying and they weren't. We're defending them and we're paying the bills. And I said, nope, they asked me, does this mean that if Russia attacks us, you will not defend us? I said, are you paid up? Well, let's say we're not, then I'm not defending you. And the money came pouring in. So our borders remain wide open. We had the safest, best borders in history 3 years ago. Now we have the worst borders in
Boa viagem aí para Michel, para Fátima, boa recuperação, viu, Fátima?
In short, if you want a losing candidate who puts America last, vote for either one of them. Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis. The other day, I think it was NBC, they're interviewing him, a straight interview, but they can't do it straight. NBC is one of the worst, but they can't. But it was sort of straight. They said, ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased to have this opportunity to talk to Governor Ron DeSantis. And he said, no, it's DeSantis. That's good branding. When you can get it so they can't even get his name right. And that's just the abbreviation of the sanctimonious. Right? But if you want a president, and I think he's going to be out pretty quick based on what I'm hearing. Based on what I'm looking at, you don't have to hear it. You have to look at things go polls. And she's going to be out pretty quick too. But if you want a person that puts America first, there's only one person that you can vote for, and that's Donald J. Trump. And you saw that the greatest economy in the history of our country. On day one of my new administration, I will seal the border and I will shut down the invasion of millions of people that are coming through into our country. 3 years ago, we had the most secure border in U.S. history. We built 561 miles, far more than I said we were going to be able to build. And this is after fighting Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, and the
Balança
Democrats.
muito, Michel. Quando dá o zoom aqui, entende?
You know what I did? I took it out of the military. I said, listen, this is an invasion. I'm taking it out of the military because with Congress, it's like, unless you're a Democrat. They suck a lot of money out of Republicans that vote wrong. We got to be very, very careful with that. Very, very careful. But I took it right out of the military. We built it, and we built like nobody's ever. You know the wall the way it looks, right? That's exactly what they wanted. Border Patrol. Brandon Judd, phenomenal person. You take a look at. Do you ever hear of Tom Homan? Is he Central Casting? He said, President Trump, both of them. Everybody said it. The greatest president in history for the border. We had that thing so good. All Biden had to do is stay on the beach. Just stay on the beaches. But he broke it all up. But we built the border wall. We got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. Thank you very much, Mexico. I love the president. He's a great guy. But he wasn't exactly happy about that. He was not happy about that. Under Biden, the USA has been turned into a dumping ground for the entire world. Now, you know, I see signs flashing back there, and it sort of depends if you want it. It's a Saturday night. You want this to be the long version or the short version? You want to hear the snake? Because it's very epic. Do you want to hear? All right. Sadly, this is emblematic of what's going on in our country. At the border, this was an old song that I revised a lot for purposes of saving our country, frankly. And it has to do with the border. Think of it as the border. Think of it as the people that we're letting in, because they're coming in from jails and prisons. They're coming in from mental institutions, insane asylums. They're emptying out into the United States. We're like a dumping ground. Terrorists are coming into our country. And I think this is very emblematic of what's happening. Sad. Sad. People love it, but it's sad. But it gives you what is going on. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried. I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, cried the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had just survived. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, cried the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. That's what's happening in our morning. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. We're taking in people that shouldn't be in our country. This is a problem, and we will be doing a lot of things, but isn't it true? We're bringing them in from mental institutions, prisons. Terrorists are pouring into our country. You know, in 2019, I saw on one of the shows, this was true news. In 2019, they had no terrorists reported at all coming in because we had an anti-terror clause, and it was actually upheld in the United States Supreme Court. We have 3 great new justices, and we have some very good justices on the court. I hope the Republican justices are willing to do things right. You know, a Democrat put in, let's say, by Obama or Biden, they're down and dirty. They'll just say, nope, I'm voting the way that guy wants me. A Republican, they want to show that they can't be bought, that the fact that you put them there and made their lives, took them from some place where they were doing quite well, but you know what? They want to go out of their way to be politically correct. This country has to do things right. They cannot worry about political correctness anymore. They can't do it. They have to do things right. So you have some votes coming up. The Colorado decision where, as you know, although I would say almost unanimous, even radical left, crazy Democrats, you say you can't take the vote away from the people. And in this case, we're leading everywhere. We're leading with Republicans, we're leading with Democrats, we're beating Biden by a lot. And if Biden gets in, you know, they want to substantially expand the Supreme Court, which would be a terrible thing. But you have to understand, we have to get down to business, or we're not going to have a country left. We need two things in our country, so important. We need two things. We need strong borders, and we need free and fair and honest elections. The other vote they're taking is going to be on immunity for the president. And this isn't just me, this is all presidents. They have to be given immunity, otherwise they're going to be unable to act. Anything they do, if it goes wrong, even if it goes right, the opposing party, and you see that now, where you have these people, they're crazy, they're absolute, the opposing party will indict them for anything they do. So a president has to be given immunity, and this has nothing to do with me. This has to do with every single president. As an example, when Biden gets out, I mean, has that guy got a list you could go after? But you have to give a president immunity. Otherwise, take a look at Harry Truman. He wouldn't have done, if you think Hiroshima, not exactly a nice act, but it did end the Second World War, probably. Right? Nagasaki, he wouldn't be doing that. He said, I don't want to do that because my opponents will indict me. You have to give a president full and total immunity. And you know, I liken it to a little bit, police, you have to give them back their authority and their power because our country is run. And when you do that, you're going to have a rogue cop, you're going to have a bad apple somewhere along the line. Very, very few, surprisingly few, but you're going to have some. And what they're doing is they're trying to protect so much against that that crime is rampant all over the place. And, you know, the police are incredible, and the firemen and everyone else, but they're incredible. These are incredible people, and they want to do their job, and they're not allowed to do it. Just like the Border Patrol wants to do their job. They're not allowed. They're under orders. You'll lose your house. You'll lose everything you have. You'll lose your family, your wife, family, husband, family. You're going to lose everything if you do it, if you act. When they see people walking out of the stores carrying televisions, don't do it, don't touch them, don't do anything. We have to go back to being a country of law and order. And you will have, very seldom, but you will have the rogue, we call it the rogue cop, the bad apple, and perhaps you'll have that also with president. But there's nothing you can do about that. You're going to have to give the president, you're going to have to allow a president, any president, to have immunity so that that president can act and do what he feels and what his group of advisors feel is the absolute right thing. Otherwise, you're going to have presidents that are totally impotent, and we've had enough of them already. We've had enough of them already. So having immunity is so important, and I hope the Supreme Court has the courage to do that, because otherwise you're just not going to be in a very strong position very long. It'll totally change our country, in my opinion. That's how bad it would be. Upon taking office, I will terminate every open border policy that Biden and the Biden administration put on and begin the largest deportation operation in American history. To stop the deadly drugs that are poisoning and pouring into our country, poisoning our people, I will deploy the U.S. Navy. We are going to impose, and we had this, you know, we were at a 38-year low for drugs coming in too, not just people coming in for drugs. And now we're 9 times more. Drugs are just pouring in. We fought that hard. We spent millions of dollars on equipment that could detect. You know what the best detection though is? A certain type of German Shepherd. You can spend millions of dollars on drug detecting equipment, and it's not as good as a great certain type of German Shepherd, like they're flawless. Can you imagine dogs? We all love dogs, right? It's a great thing. But the Navy's going to impose a full fentanyl blockade on the waters of our region because it comes from every different way. And I had a deal with President Xi of China. And when the election turned out the way it turned out, we got more votes than any sitting president in history, and we lost by a whisker. Bullshit, okay? Bullshit. You know, we got more votes. We got more votes, Henry, than any president in the history of our country. Any president, and bad things happen. But President Xi and I had an agreement. He was going to give the maximum penalty to anybody making fentanyl in China and sending it over here. That means the death penalty, because they have the death penalty. That's why they don't have a drug law. In China, they have the death penalty. Singapore, other places. Where you have the death penalty, you have no drug problem. It's a very simple thing. So I don't know that our country is ready for it, but each drug dealer kills on average 500 people during his or her lifetime. And I know what it is because I have so many friends. And even if you lose somebody without that, just lose somebody. We had it this last week. I lost my mother-in-law, and she passed away, peacefully passed away. It's a very hard thing to take. But think of what happens when you lose a child or anybody to fentanyl. It's a horrible thing. And we had it just about set, and when I was going to go into existence, and then when these guys came, they didn't care about that. They didn't know about it. They didn't want to bother with it. That would have been one of the most important things we did. I'll get it done again. President Xi will do it again. I guarantee you that. The drug cartels are waging war on America, and we will destroy those cartels. We have to destroy. You know, it's war. I believe we're losing 300,000. Not, you know, they say 91,000. That's not 91,000. 300,000 people a year, I believe, are lost to drugs pouring into our country. That's worse than a war, okay? That's worse than a war. So we have a war going on. And I will use Title 42, which I had. In fact, the judge in that case was fantastic. He said to me, they wanted to terminate it early. The judge wouldn't let him do it. He said, no, wait a minute, do you know what's going to happen to our country if we do that? Title 42. And he said, no, but it expires. You can wait. But if you don't extend it, it would be terrible. But I'm not going to give you the right to terminate it. He was fantastic, actually. He understood. But Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families and their home countries immediately. Nikki Haley will never secure the border or stop the fentanyl that is killing thousands and thousands of New Hampshire citizens. You know, I took tours with your police force and your fire force. And a big part of what they do in New Hampshire, I don't know what it is with New Hampshire, but you probably have per capita the worst drug situation in the entire country. Why don't you try getting a new governor? That would help, okay? But you have the worst, I believe it's the worst. Per capita, I believe it's the worst, and it's not even close. But I went around with the firemen, the job they do, the policemen, the job of keeping people alive. But sometimes I'll have to do it 4 or 5 times with the same person, and oftentimes that person doesn't make it eventually. Nikki Haley opposed my border wall very strongly. She condemned my strong border policies, and they really worked. They really worked. I mean, I put in policies. I didn't want people coming in from countries that hate us, that want to blow up our shopping centers and kill our people. And so we didn't let them come in, and we had you know, I wanted to talk about it so badly during that 4-year period. 2.5, 3 years went up. I said, I want to talk, but I don't want to mention it because if I mention it, the next day they'll have a problem and they'll say, see? But we went, now I can talk about it with great pride. We went 4 years without any terrorist problem because we kept them out. And remember, Iran was broke under the Trump administration. Iran was broke. I said to China, if you buy 1 barrel of oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business in the U.S., and we're going to put 100% tariff on everything you have. They said, like we said, we're not going to buy any oil. But I did that with many countries, and they were absolutely broke. If you remember back, you go back 3.5 years ago, you will see that there were reports, actually, even from the fake news, that Hamas, Hezbollah, they didn't have any money because Iran had no money to give them. They wanted to survive. And I didn't want to be better. I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, you know, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. but you cannot have a nuclear weapon. Now they're 31 days away from having a nuclear weapon. These numbskulls have done nothing. It would have been such an easy deal. They wanted to make a deal. And then because of the results of the election, they said, let's wait it out. Nobody ever contacted them. They're going to have a nuclear weapon in 31 days, the likes of which, the power of nuclear weaponry is not describable. Actually, it's not describable. And that's where we are right now. This country has regressed to a point that it's so embarrassing to even talk about when you look at what's happened. Just 3 years, a little more than 3 years, what's happened to our country is so sad to see. Nikki stabbed the Republican Party in the back by siding with Barack Hussein Obama against the Trump travel ban, which kept us safe. That travel ban was a gift from God. It kept us safe as a country. We didn't have the problems that other countries had. Biden and his thugs are desperate to stop us because they know that we are the only ones who can stop them. We're the only ones that can stop them. You know, this is the greatest movement in the history of the United States. It's never going to move. Never going to move. Never. In an interview yesterday, a very sad interview actually, Attorney General Merrick Garland, head of crooked Joe Biden's Department of Injustice, actually stated that he wanted to speed up the so-called election integrity witch hunt against President Trump. And I say, if he wanted to do that, why didn't they file the lawsuit 3 years earlier? Because they wanted to have it right smack in the middle of the election. You know when it comes to? They want to start the trial, and I think it's going to be delayed very substantially because of all the things you see happening, including what's happening in Georgia with the horrible case of Fannie Willis. It's actually pronounced Fani. It's F-A-N-I, but you pronounce it Fani, a little French accent there. Fani. But that's a terrible thing. But so Merrick Garland, I didn't think he'd be like this. I understood it, you know, looked at him. To me, he was a very respected judge, very respected for a long time. I never thought this would happen with him. He was liberal, but he was a respected guy, and I never thought this would happen, but he wants to speed it up. But I say, they want to speed it up. They could have started it 3 years ago. 3 years ago. This would have been over 2 years. And now they want to speed it up. You know why they want to speed it up? Because I'm leading in the election. This is election interference at a level that nobody has ever seen before. It's because they know that I did nothing wrong. They want to get going, and it's, by the way, what the hell ever happened to the Biden boxes deal? What's with Biden boxes? Where did that ever go? They kept saying Trump, they raided Mar-a-Lago. Remember, they raided my home. How would you like to have your home raided? Nice home. They raided my home. Whatever happened? Remember, he kept classified documents under the wheels of his Corvette. He loves that Corvette. In an open garage with no security. Whatever happened? Let's check that. Whatever happened to Biden, the Biden boxes? He had massive numbers. He was taking stuff when he was a senator, which that you're not allowed to do. I was protected by the Presidential Records Act, by the way. But whatever happened to that boxes deal with Joe Biden? And why isn't Garland going after the ones who rigged the 2020 election? Why is he always going after the ones who are complaining about the rigging? They only go after the ones complaining. Now we have to have honest elections in all these cases. Biden and Garland were weaponizing law enforcement for really high-level election interference. That's what they're doing now. He's got nothing he can run on. He always says, Donald Trump is a rat. He's a threat to democracy. That's right. That's right. MAGA. We've got to stop MAGA. What does MAGA mean, Joe? Make America great again. We got to stop Make America great again. Think of it. We've got to stop Make America great again. But I don't do too much imitation of him because every time I do it, every single time, they have it on television. Like fake NBC, fake CBS, fake ABC, NBC. Not to mention CNN, MSDNC, and Fox. But every time I do it, if I imitate them, they show me Donald Trump spoke poorly last night. He could hardly say a word. So it's very dangerous. You know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, I hardly do it anymore. Maybe I'll do it for New Hampshire. I'm desperate to get. I'm desperate to get you. I'm desperate to get you. Maybe I'll do it. But I don't do it because what they do is, if I'm sarcastic, or like a lot of times I'll say, and President Obama is doing a lousy job, meaning that Obama's running the show. They'll say, Donald Trump doesn't know who our president is. Because cognitively, you know, I don't know if you saw, but a few months ago, I took a cognitive test. My doctor gave me. They said, give me a cognitive test, just so we can, you know, because you know what the standards were. And I aced it. I also took one when I was in the White House. No, I'll let you know when I go bad. I really think I'll be able to tell you, because someday we go bad. But you know, I've had, and they always say, like Haley, she talks about, yeah, we don't need 80-year-old. Well, I don't mind being 80, but I'm 77. That's a big difference. But I have one friend who became a very rich man, became a millionaire. His whole life he didn't do well. He was in a certain business, didn't do well. He turned 80. He made $1 billion between the age of 80 and 90. He made all his money from 80 to 90. They always like to mention age. It's not age, different people, different strokes, right? But what it is, think of that, made all of his money. I know people that are 90, I know one person, 94 years old, a phenomenal, his mind is as sharp as it's ever been. I feel my mind is stronger now than it was 25 years ago. Is that possible? I really do. Now Biden can't say that. You know he can't say that. You know he can't say that. You know there's something on it. But when I imitated, so a few weeks ago, I imitated, because as you know, he can never find the stairs. You know how many stairs? 1, 2. We have 2 on the side. 3, 4. There's one back here, and then there's an emergency.